Yes, welcome dear student. Uh, Today we will again continue with the liquid drop model. Now the time has come to test the liquid drop model. The previous two lectures we have done that by testing the liquid drop model whether it is able to predict the most stable element of the isobar family or not, and it was pretty spot on. And there are a lot of other nuclear phenomena. So the model has to pass the test of explaining the various nuclear phenomena. And one of the most important nuclear phenomena, which is known to all of us, is the fission problem. You know the amount of energy which is released in a fission. Fission is a process in which the nucleus breaks down into two parts, not necessarily equal parts, but two parts. And when it does so, it releases large amount of energy. Now, there are certain elements in nature which do it spontaneously, and many other which don't do spontaneously, and you have to trigger it. And in a nuclear fission experiment, where we break the uranium in the nuclear reactors, or if it is used for destructive purpose as atom bomb, the uranium nucleus is triggered by bombarding neutrons, slow neutrons. So the slow neutrons are captured by the nucleus of the uranium, causing instability, and as a result of which the fission occurs. And we are going to be discussing this problem in detail and trying to see how good the liquid drop model is. Now, if you again look at this graph again, as I pointed out earlier, is a very important graph in nuclear physics. You can see that this graph is not a flat one, it's not like this, but for higher A, it drops. This y-axis is V by A, this is V by A graph versus AF. So you can see that binding energy per nucleon. Binding energy per nucleon is the total binding energy of the nucleus divided by the total number of nucleons. So that is binding energy uh, per AB by A. So it is how much is the amount of energy needed to remove one nucleon. That's the idea. You can see that this group of elements got very high binding energy, and this group here, as A increases, there is a fall, systematic fall. I am not extending any further because you don't have elements beyond this found in nature. And if at all they existed in past, they would have undergone spontaneous fission and would have got converted into lighter elements. And all that thing we have discussed. Now you know that this part are fusionable materials. These parts are all fissionable materials. The whole idea is if to combine to reach this particular target, if you are able to fuse two lighter elements and move up the graph, then you are able to increase the binding energy here in this part. Here for heavier elements, if you are able to break the nucleus into two parts and the two smaller fragments then are somewhere in this part of the graph, and when they are in this part of the graph, the binding energy is higher. So higher the binding energy, the energy is released, and that's how you are able to generate energy. Now let's look into how much energy would be released if one atom or one nucleus. When I say atom and nucleus, of course, I mean the same. One atom of uranium, one nucleus is broken into two parts. Let's see that. Now A, I am dividing it into two. So when I am dividing it into two, the two parts, the two fission fragments, we call them as fission fragments. The two fission fragments will then have B by A increasing by from 7.6 to 8.5 MeV. This is just an approximate calculation. You can see that this axis is around 8 point something here, 8.5. Here this is around 7.6 or something. So when this breaks into two parts, the two fission fragments, it's got increase in the binding energy value. Okay, that's what I meant, from 7.6 to 8.5. So there's a difference of 0.9 MeV per nucleus. So when you're talking about division of uranium to the total increase in binding energy, is this is per nucleus. Zero point 0.9 MeV is the change in binding energy for this thing. So if you're talking about the total binding energy, B by A value, that is binding energy B by A is binding energy for one nucleon per nucleon. Okay, so if you're talking about uranium 238, if you're talking about uranium 238 here, you're talking about the total increase in binding energy. Total increase in binding energy would be obviously 0.9 MeV into multiply by the number of nucleons, that is 214 MeV. This is the increase in the binding energy of uranium 238. So if you have a uranium 238 nucleus, and if it undergoes fission, if it breaks into two parts, then the amount of energy released is 214 MeV. It's quite a large value. Now if you just, that's why we have seen this, we have discussed that in chemical reaction, the, the values are in terms of electron volt, while for nucleus it's in the values are in terms of MeV because of the high strong nuclear forces which binds the nucleons. So if you are somehow able to break the atom into two parts, and you have energy released of the order of 214. Now the whole idea is the liquid drop model able to predict this value? That is the question which we want to investigate. That's what we're going to be doing next. Now I have this equation. Let me explain the equation. So the whole idea is you have 238 and this is just breaking into two parts. Okay, right. So as you know, Q is nothing but the mass difference. Now here we are talking about, dear students, please understand, we are talking about spontaneous fission. Now we are not talking about a neutron which is bombarded on this. No, we are talking about spontaneous fission. So we are talking about a nucleus undergoing fission on its own. It's called spontaneous fission. Okay, so as you know, it's equal to initial mass minus the final mass. Okay, this is the parent mass minus the daughter mass. Here there are two daughters, so you have, and we are presuming that both halves are equal for the mathematical purpose, and the calculation will not be different if the two are not equal in size. So I'm taking this as the parent mass twice because there are two fragments, 2m, and they are divided into 2, so z becomes z by 2, a becomes a by 2. Now this is what I am going to be solving. Mass formula, you know, is mass of a number of neutron. This formula we have already seen earlier. If you haven't, please refer my earlier PPTs, and the students who have not attended, if you go through that, you will find this mass formula. We have discussed this extensively, minus the binding energy. Okay, this is nothing but the mass of the individual nucleons, proton and neutron, minus the binding energy of the nucleus. Okay, this is the mass formula. Now we substitute the binding energy, and this is the volume term. Please understand the minus terms will become plus and the plus term will become minus because there is a minus sign. The surface term has become plus, Coulomb term has become plus, this is the asymmetric term, and of course there is a pairing energy term which we are ignoring because for heavier elements the pairing energy term hardly contributes, so it doesn't make, the pairing energy term is predominantly for lighter elements. Okay, the pairing energy term is not going to be significant. Okay, so we are talking about, so we have ignored that. Now 2mz by 2 a by 2, so what happens is wherever there is a, wherever there is z, I'm going to put it as a by 2. 2 of course is there outside the bracket, and here it is a, so instead of a I have put a by 2, instead of z I have put z by 2, Instead of A, again I have put A by 2. So instead of A here, I have put A by 2 raised to 2 by 3. Z square has been written as Z square by 2 square, that is 4, divided by A. A has now become A by 2. So each one of them is raised to the power 2 raised to 3. Okay. Okay, I think there's a mistake here. A raised to 1 by 3. Okay, just there is a correction here. Please make the correction. 1 by 3 here raised to upon 2 raised to 1 by 3. A. Instead of A, this becomes A by 2. Instead of Z becomes Z by 2. So here it becomes 2 gets cancelled, so it is 2. So you can sit with your piece of paper and then term by term write it down. Don't be in a hurry. Check each term properly. So this is what you get for this. Okay. Now I'll subtract this 2. So when I subtract this 2, this is the first term. I'll subtract it with the second term. You can sit and solve this equation very carefully. And you're, again, I made a mistake here. Instead of this 2 by 3, this is 1 by 3. Okay. So if you sit and solve it properly, this is what you get. The asymmetric term will get cancelled. Okay. The volume energy term will get cancelled. So the only term which will survive is AS and AC. And that is what is going to determine the Q. So it's like a competition between AS and AC. That's the whole idea. Now if I put it here, okay, if I reduce it in this form, this will become, if I solve this equation, I have this. Okay, so as I said, this is minus term, this is plus term. So it's a competition between the surface energy term and the Coulomb term. So as you can guess, this A raised to 2 by 3 I taken common. Now I put the value of AS. You know the coefficient values, I had given it in the previous lecture. So substitute the coefficient values. So this is what you get in terms of MeV, Z squared by A. Now you know that for fission to occur, spontaneous fission to occur, obviously Q should be greater than 0. Exothermic nuclear reactions, for exothermic nuclear reactions, Q's are 0, greater than 0. So when Q is greater than 0, obviously you have, when can Q be greater than 0? When this term is greater than the first term. So if you solve this equation, then you get the condition Z square upon A is greater than or equal to 15. Now this is the magic figure. The liquid drop model says that all the elements in the nature whose Z square upon A is greater than or equal to 15 are fissionable candidates. Pay attention here. They are fissionable candidates. They can undergo spontaneous fission. All the elements. But you don't find them in our everyday life because their half-life is very high. So it might happen, but it might happen after many years. So all those elements, this is the threshold. Any value whose value is less than 15, they will not undergo fission. So you don't have to waste your energy trying to carry out fission on those elements. If you want to do it artificially, then you have to choose candidates whose Z square upon A is greater than or equal to 15. That's also one of the suggestions of this derivation. So this is the limit. So you have, that means all Z whose elements whose Z is greater than 35 is greater than 80, fission is possible and would release energy. Now this is the key. This is the key. Now this is the conclusion of this. Now let's not forget what was our main focus. Our main focus was to see whether this is predicted by liquid drop model or not. That whether 214 MeV would result if one uranium nucleus is broken into two parts. So this is what we did finally. So here we'll put A is equal to 238. So I put A is 238 and try to solve it, and I get the value 170 MeV, which is remarkable. Yes, remarkable, because we are looking at the figure 214. and we have reached up to 170. Now, dear students, the liquid drop model is much accurate than this. The reason is we have only considered the fission. Now, what happens in nature is after a nucleus is undergoing fission, after it undergoes fission, it is not stable. So, it will then release plenty of beta particles, gamma rays. It will undergo series of reactions where a lot of beta particles are emitted, a lot of gamma rays are emitted, because finally, till it does not reach a stable situation state, it will keep on emitting that. So, if you consider all these emissions and their energy and add them up, the figure comes closer, closer to 214 MeV. Now, the other thing is also we have done some approximation. We have removed the pairing energy term. We have considered a symmetric fission and some marginal approximations we have done. And if you actually do it, remove this approximation, the figure would be still closer to 214. Our objective was not to exactly get a precise answer. The whole idea is we wanted to check whether the liquid drop model is able to give you an answer for the most popular or most what you call important problem of nuclear physics, that is the fission. So this we are talking about symmetric fission. So in a symmetric fission of uranium 238, the prediction of liquid drop model is 170 MeV, and that's what I wanted to test. So let me again go back. We are talking about the we are talking about this B by A versus A curve and trying to calculate if a heavier element is broken down, how much is the energy release. B by A is zero point 0.9 per nucleon, difference is zero point 0.9. So if you're talking about 238 nucleons, then the energy value is 214. That's what is going to be the energy released if fission is going to happen for uranium 238. We had started off with a general expression. Now, if I ask you how much is the energy released for thorium 232, let's say if I ask you a question, if I ask you an objective question like that, how much is the energy released? If 232 thorium is to undergo fission, then instead of A here, you have to put 232. Okay, so there is no Z. There is no Z here. Yeah, Z is there, so I need the value of Z. So if Z is given to you, let's say 90, then you have to put Z is equal to 90. A as 232. Solve this equation and you will get the value of Q. So this is a general expression, and for different elements, the A and Z values are different, so the Q's are going to be different for each one of them. So like that, we will. I'll be trying to give you numericals at the end of the chapter. So, but this is how we have progressed. So, dear students, what we have done is, let me just quickly take you back to the previous lectures. We developed a liquid drop model, and then from the liquid drop model, we are now reached a stage where we are testing the model against various nuclear phenomena. And the previous lectures we tested it against the stable element of isobar family, writing the stable element of isobar family, and this time we discussed about the symmetric fission. Okay, thank you.